crashed out. Perfect time to do a little journaling. All right, just be patient with me as I crawl back into bed. Get adjusted. Try not to show you my hoo-ha as I'm crawling in. But I do have to show you this mad carpet. Yeah, that's not from some wild sexual adventure. I wish that could be the story topic of today's video, but that's from the bully trying to escape getting her bath, and I did a sliding in on the carpet. Nice carpet burn. Anyway, okay, again, I think I may have accidentally showed you guys my hoo-ha, but I've been wanting to, for a while now, do a journal entry on enoughness. As I always circle back to that I found from my personal experience and a lot of the research that goes into mental health and disordered eating patterns is it's a lot of parallels with emotions. So, two people I want to give a shout out to that have been pivotal in helping me really dive deep, open up my mind, and just kind of awaken to all these connections is Candace Van Dahl. She has a great YouTube channel, and also Natasha Oceano. So Candace Van Dahl, I would say her gifting is just super intuitive, very spiritual, kind of looking at every fear or reason to need something outside of your body to feel enough or secure. And she just kind of taught me overall that why would you say someone's not enough, or kind of think, well, I'm better because I work out, or I have that job, or I'm secure because I'm with someone that is at a certain status. And it started to make me realize that, one thing she said that was so helpful was, you have to provide all of those things for yourself instead of needing someone to say, I think you're amazing, you're sweet, you're a hard worker. Tell yourself that. Generate all of that affirmation from inside your body and grow yourself up as an adult so everything does feel enough. Until you generate that and source it for yourself, you're always going to feel like the relationship that you're in is not enough, the career that you're in maybe isn't enough, what you're eating isn't enough. You just will never quite feel satisfied. But if you can start at the most basic needs, you can refer to one of my videos on Maslow's triangle. If you start at the bottom of that triangle, it's food, warmth, and rest. So a lot of times in society, we are not eating well. We're doing a lot of grab and go food items, or we skip breakfast, and then we end up so hungry, so behind by the end of the day that we're grabbing an entire pizza and then, having half a pint of ice cream to try to catch up. So instead, if you start at the base of that triangle and give your body good nutrition, doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be clean, just basic, good, balanced nutrition. Rest your body. So everyone is just, hey, you're amazing because, wow, you're a single mom, you're training for a marathon, and you're pulling 2 10-hour shifts at work. High five, we think you're amazing. Well, interesting perspective. I would say the complete opposite. I think you're an amazing mom when you set a boundary and say, I've just pulled a 10-hour day. I'm not pulling a second 10-hour shift. I need to go home and be with my family. I need to prepare a dinner that has a vegetable, a protein, a carbohydrate, a general well-balanced, what your body needs dinner. Have a nice walk with my family, and I want to rest. I want to maybe turn on a fun movie on Netflix, and I'm going to rest. The 3 basics at the base of that triangle: food, warmth, and rest. So I challenge you today, when I talk through things on this video, just to try and dive deep and go all the way back to the beginning. Where did it start that someone told me I wasn't enough or that approach wasn't enough? And what I'm doing today that maybe I feel like I'm never quite satisfied, something's missing, is it because I've not defined what is enough for me and set boundaries to protect those wellness routines, those me time, my rest? Am I giving my body good, gentle, kind of common sense 3 square meals a day, if you want to just start there, as simple as it can be? And am I resting? Am I taking time like I'm going to do right now and just rest, connect to what's in here? And another shout out to Natasha Oceano. She has such a cool like wellness fitness YouTube channel, and she has allowed me to loosen up with my healing process around food and exercise. And she does really fun challenges where she'll say, you know what, I'm going to overeat by 2,000 calories every day for a week straight. And instead of like being worried about it or anxious, she's like, I'm just kind of curious how my body naturally rebalances. And she literally takes photos and videos of what she eats. I think she also didn't exercise at all. It was trying to mimic if you went on a European vacation and you didn't work out, you just kind of walked around the city and explored, and you indulged in all the food that you wanted because, you know, it's kind of expensive, and nowadays you may have one time a year to get to travel or once every 3 years, so you may just want to have every pleasure possible. The sights, the experience, the food, on top of the food, the dessert. Just you want to feel every pleasure possible. And that's not necessarily wrong or right, but instead of being afraid or thinking, oh my gosh, I could never do that. If I do that, it's going to make me gain weight and I'll be miserable because then I have to go on a diet and that's painful and no one likes pain. She said, actually, my body just kind of naturally rebalanced. It's interesting because I've not really had someone that explains the science behind how the body works. She does an amazing job of that. Then actually put herself in those extreme fearful situations and prove to you that it does all naturally balance out. And between those two mentors of mine, I've been able to really be fearless in a lot of my approaches to eating, emotions, and feeling like where I am in my life is enough, and whatever I choose that I source and I honor because this is me, this is what I need, this is what I want, it will always be enough. Okay, so what I thought I would share is just a couple of things that I wrote down randomly in the morning when I was just needing to kind of like express deep connections, parallels of enoughness, and then just talk with you a little bit. I want it to be a very candid video today about the topic of enough and how when you realize and connect with you are enough, that a lot of those issues with eating smooth out. So I'm going to flip to, as I was rereading this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I have a favorite papyrus quote that I often, anytime move to another apartment, a new state, I will print out the papyrus quote that's on the cards and just put it in my home. And pretty much what the quote summarizes and I connect so deeply with, and actually a friend gave it to me when I was going through a hard time years ago when I was younger, and I just thought it was so thoughtful, and I've stole the idea, post it in my living environment, and I share it with others that buy a new home or transition to a new phase in their life. But it talks about some of the sweetest moments in life are just connecting with friends, sharing laughter, the ambiance, maybe a good meal, and that's truly, in my opinion, the purpose as a human that we all share. We're all fucking humans. Can't get over it. We can try to improve and be a better version of ourselves to give back more joy to the world. But as humans, the deepest, most enough feeling for me is just being at peace in my body, having wonderful, unique, different humans on their own journeys around me, and just smiling and laughing and connecting with them. So sometimes when you're in recovery, you've been told that you'll be enough when you're thin. And then someone else tells you, like, that woman is beautiful. She's a newscaster. She has the blonde hair. She's thin. She has the perfect makeup. She has the perfect outfit. She's enough, which means we'll pick her as a wife. She'll be more secure. She'll be safe. So I had to dig deep for a while and just kind of reverse all of those thoughts from being told I was chubby in 5th grade. Okay, so that's one affirmation of, if my body looks different, then I'll be enough. Sports and cheerleading, where you have to wear the 2-piece where your stomach is showing, and I'm a flyer, I have to be thin and light, and then I'm enough. Being in different relationships. I was in a relationship with a personal trainer who kind of tried to nicely tell me that, oh, by the way, I've noticed that your body is a little bit fuller than it normally is. How about you get down to this size and this shape, and I'll teach you how to do it, and then you'll be enough for me. What else? What other relationships? And almost sometimes like the opposite too. So then when I got very thin, someone would be like, oh, you're too thin, you need to eat a little bit more. So it's like, why is everyone always looking at my external to say I need to look a certain way for them to accept me to be enough? No, instead, what I think is enough is I get to choose the size. Well, source that created my body, my DNA, can be a certain size in certain ranges, but within that natural range that my body can be, I get to decide what body do I feel good in that gives me energy to go to work, to be a good puppy mommy, to walk to go have brunch with my friends. And by the end of the day, I felt like I used my brain, my body, and my soul to contribute to my family, my career, my community. That, to me, is enough. When I'm in my truth, when I'm living and breathing that papyrus quote, I feel like I'm untouchable. I feel fearless. And then food honorably settles into its true role, fueling my soul and contributing to my existence. It's no longer my default go-to to soothe me, to fix something, to pleasure me, to distract me from feelings. No, instead, all of that comes from my truth. It comes from my soul. My soul is the soother. It doesn't require a perfect meal. It's always there when I just breathe and I connect to it. And then I no longer need to wear a mask or have an eating disorder routine to give me that sense of security, that sense of I'll stay thin, then I'll be accepted, I won't be rejected, and I'll be enough. So one thing, sometimes it helps to have little mantras as you're trying to recreate your neuroplasticity. So those brain waves, imagine, developing anxiety, mental health condition as a result of trauma, and then speaking through an eating disorder because you don't know how to use your voice, you don't have the words, and that family isn't listening to your feelings. You've not been taught that it's okay to express your feelings. People don't sit down and communicate as a family to resolve feelings, so you choose disordered behavior patterns to show I'm not okay. You get very thin and say, hey, I'm not okay, look at me, I'm like turning skeletal, please listen to me, please pay attention to me now. So what I've learned is I created my default way to soothe myself, to express my emotions through my body. And at times when things felt out of my control, I figured, well, if I get thin again, then they'll notice I'm not okay, and then maybe my voice is powerful. But instead, I've learned that it's really important to create different patterns to default to provide my own self a sense of security. So instead of immediately turning to food, I sit with myself and I honestly ask myself, what's coming up? What's scaring me? And why do I think I'm not enough? Why is that causing me fear? And then I approach it. I address it however I need to. If it's someone said something and I thought that I caused them to say that and it's making me anxious, and I start snowballing, like, oh my gosh, they think that about me. They might report that to a manager might report it to someone else higher up, and then maybe I might be put on a personal improvement plan, and then maybe my job is at risk for termination, right? So a simple comment that may have not been connected to anything that I immediately, with my anxiety disorder, potentially that's why I process it that way, instead of going all the way to the worst case scenario, which is not wrong, I could think through that worst case scenario, but then I look at it and I'm like, wow, that was intense, Lindsay. I don't want you to feel that way. Where did that originate from? And then kind of going back to the source, and instead of allowing all that anxiety to come on top of me and maybe not eating to numb out that intense worry, that intense feeling, or going home and, eating half a cheesecake, oh my gosh, all that pain and anxiety and fear went away because I soothed myself. Instead, I go right to the source. Have a conversation with that person that I had that feeling, oh my gosh, did I say something wrong? And then 90% of the time it's, oh my gosh, no, it was nothing about you. I was upset about this interaction with another coworker, nothing directed towards you. Or maybe it was something I picked up on, and then we have that conversation. Oh, did you interpret it that way of what I said? I didn't intend it to be that way. I'm so sorry. That was a miscommunication. What do you feel I could have done better in the situation? And then it smooths out, and the two persons have a very mature connection of, wow, that person is a human, they're vulnerable, they shared with me their truth. And as professionals, we have a new rapport established where we can come to each other, and if we're having a weird feeling, we just express it, create closure, and then move on as stronger beings. And therefore, you will no longer need a behavior to soothe yourself. You, as the adult, faced the fears, scary to have that uncomfortable conversation, but remedied it within that day. So you go home, you have a normal evening, a walk with a family, a healthy dinner, and you probably don't have those feelings bubbling up where you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't like that feeling, I don't like that feeling. Oop, my default go-to, let me have a big portion of dessert that feels better. And then the emotions are still there, so it never goes away. So in summary, enoughness. Whoever first told you weren't enough? Do you agree with that comment? What is your definition of someone that is so valuable and is enough? Again, my definition is someone that they use their brain, and whatever that gifting may be doesn't mean that they're a mathematician or a rocket scientist, but they use their brain and they contribute it to something good that makes a difference. They have a body and they value that their body can get them from point A to point B. Doesn't mean that your body maybe is the perfect fitness, fully functional, but it could just be that, maybe you're not even able to walk. Maybe you're restricted to a wheelchair, but you still have this body that can express and offer goodness to the world. And then soul. Too many times I think people don't show that vulnerable emotional side, and that's where the passion, the connection, I want to be here. I want to wake up and go outside and cross paths with another human and hear their story. And that shared soul gifting that I think we all try to weave into our jobs, our careers at some point when you're ready. To me, that's a really valuable person. And the more you kind of climb your way up the Maslow triangle to self-mastery, the more brave you get to actually use your gifting. Doesn't mean that it's going to be right now. It might be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But I think you start out in a role and God has you cross paths with other people. You grow yourself up, and then you start to weave in that natural gifting, and we all have it. And thank God it's all different gifting, so this world and systems work together. But just remember that you are always enough, and if you struggle with using food or exercise as a default method to soothe yourself, numb yourself out, feel enough, maybe work on restructuring it. Make food number 2 and make soul number 1. Sit with the uncomfortable feeling, with the fear, and ask yourself, where did this originate from? Look at it, speak to it, do something to help alleviate it, and then leave food as number 2. Food is going to support number 1, which is your soul. Everything else that's amazing out there in the world, if it's walking your dogs, starting to write a book, starting a podcast, working on a really neat project at work that you've just been too exhausted to spend time on. Number 1 is your soul. It's your connection. It's your gifting. It's that papyrus quote that I was talking about. And number 2 is food. In my opinion, we were not designed to have food as number 1. Of course, when it's time to eat and your body is like, I'm hungry, we're running out of fuel, yeah, bring that 2 into number 1. Let's nurture and refuel, and it's going to taste great because that's how we're designed. If food didn't taste great, why would we ever stop to eat, right? So look at it. Number 1 is soul. What does soul love? What do I need to do more of to feel enough, to feel satisfied? Generate it yourself. Make a list. It's the weekend. I want to take my dogs over and do a play date in the park. That's going to feel like I'm so satisfied and full in the morning. Number 2, I'm going to get together with friends for a brunch. That's going to fuel my soul and just engage with humans, using my brain, my body to walk there, my soul to connect in a fun conversation. 3, I'm going to do a walk with some friends. 4, I'm going to get a massage. And guess what? All of that was based upon number 1. It was from my soul, things that make me feel complete. And then number 2, food was just factoring in to fuel me to get to enjoy those events. Not easy, but actually really simple when you think about it. Something feels uncomfortable, feel the pain, look at the pain, use your soul to soothe it. And then number 2, food, thank you for your patience, still maybe a little bit of COVID recovery. And number 2, food has always been the supporter of number 1. And a very basic, you have a tank, you put food in, maybe it's 3 meals a day, the tank runs out, your body feels hungry, you put more food in, the tank, very basic, right? Breakfast, okay, I'm full. All of a sudden you start to feel hungry again, ran out of food. Lunch, put food into the tank, okay, go about my day doing what brings me joy, feeling hungry again, put more food into the tank. So simple, 3 meals a day. That's how we're designed. Don't make it more complicated. All right, guys, I'm feeling a little fatigued. That was a lot, but this enough video was important to me, and today was the day when I was doing my morning walk with the dogs that God, I'm going to call it God, you can call it Source, whatever you want to call it, said, do the enough video. All right, and then check out those other mentors that I said are amazing at what they do, Candice Vandal and Natasha Oceano. All right, guys, see you in the next video. And she's still asleep. Oh, perfect timing.